Growing up, I seen this movie all the time on FX TV. FX movies came on all the time. And I never took the time to watch it. Every time I seen it, I was like, cool. An action movie that's in black and white. Neat. There's pop colors in here, like you see a red dress or blonde hair or blue eyes or a color of the blood, like something that popped, but really it's a black and white, movie in the year 2005 that it came out in. And I'm watching this movie, or I seen clips of it, I was like, okay, it's neat, based like kind of like the comic books, like it's a graphic novel, a manga, the more the style of it, and they actually got the comic book for it because I bought the special edition DVD that I found at my local DVD store. But I watched the movie on TV and I was like, okay, but never watched it all the way through. And then somebody a year ago at my job asked me, can you review the movie Sin City? And somebody else asked about it and I was like, sure, I just probably won't get to it as soon as possible. Like, I have a list of movies. Well, a whole year later, I finally got to the movie Sin City for the year 2005, and I think the movie's better as a TV series versus a movie. And I'm going to explain my thoughts and feelings on this movie on this episode of Movie Breakdowns, Movie Reviews. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Zakka. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns, Movie Review. I'm your host, Zakka. What is Movie Breakdowns? Movie Review series we look at new and old movies, give them a grade, A through F, plus and minus as do count. And if there's a movie you want me to review, let me know. Please put in the comment section below and I get to it as best I can. Also, I have a Patreon, Patreon/Zakka. And on Patreon, you get cut in front of everybody. It's a movie room review. Let me know on Patreon. You're paying me $2 a month and you cut in front of everybody. Shout out to Ty the Phoenix, who he has requested to review a lot of movies because he jumped in front of everybody and I just go ahead and do them because he's paying for it. So if you want to cut in front of everybody as well, there's a review you want me to do, and I'll get to it as soon as possible. I'll get to it immediately because you're asking me to do it. So that is a movie you want me to do. Check out my Patreon and you'll be able to cut in front of everybody. Also, you get cherry reaction, cherry reviews, much more stuff on Patreon. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts unless it's like an X-rated movie. Then or a really like indie film that somebody like just college made. I'm not gonna review those kind of stuff because somebody put their hard work and time into it and they're new to the game. These movies that I reviewed, these are movies that you can tell like they've gone in theaters, they've been in theaters, or they're made for TV movies, and these people have been around, the director's been around, they've done multiple stuff. So these movies I review because one, I like reviewing movies, and two, like they're not brand new. Quentin Tarantino is not brand new. Frank Miller is not brand new. This is over years of stuff. And I do want to give a shout out to this before I hop into the actual review, that Frank Miller is the one who made the comic book or the graphic novel, and he got to direct his own movie. That's pretty cool. I gotta give props to that. That is pretty cool. Like, imagine it's kind of like Stan Lee. You made this work. Years and years of work. You put time and effort to it. Story pages, panels. Nobody might not see it. Nobody probably care to read it, but you still put that time and effort into it, and then you get to finally see your work on the big screen. That, as an artist, as a writer, has to bring tears to your eyes. And same thing for people who write books. J.K. Tolkien? J.J. Tolkien? No. Freaking George R.R. Martin and J.K. Tolkien. I think it's J.K. Rowling. Now I'm getting out the place. But anyway, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, to see those, like, see your artwork, your book get put onto silver screen or the big screen, that still has to be a tear to your eyes. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into today's review of Sin City for the year 2005. And what is this movie about? It's pretty much about the stories of events that happen in Bastion City. It's based off a graphic novel, and you're following a few characters, like a cop who gets framed for a crime that he didn't do. You follow another guy who is a kind of like ain't a fighter for hire, ain't a hitman. He just a dude who goes to bars and he gets framed for murder, so he's trying to clear his name. And then you get another guy who is a self-proclaimed gentleman and he doesn't want to see women get hurt, so he's taking out people who try to harm women. Storyline, there's like 3 different movies in this one movie, and that bothers me a lot. And by the way, this could be a spoiler review. Actually, this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen Sin City, go watch it, then come back to my review, because I am going to drop some spoilers, because there's not a way to talk about this movie without really spoiling it. I have to talk about it. I have to talk about it, because it should have been a TV show. It would have, or a 3-part movie. And it just shouldn't have been done this way, to me. This is my gripe about this movie right now. Shout out to Frank Miller for getting your stuff made into a movie and getting on the big screen and being able to direct it the way you want to direct it. That is awesome. The problem is, you wrote a graphic novel which can be digested different bits and pieces and maybe multiple books, different stories. But then when you put it all in a movie and you don't encircle characters or bring them back around or show that, like, okay, this person's important to this movie at this point, or this person's important to the movie at this point, this is why the movie flows this way. Instead, we start off with a character at the beginning of the movie, they come back to him at the end of the movie, and then there's a character at the beginning of the movie who's a girl, and then we see her older at the end of the movie, but yet she was right into the middle, first half of the movie, like, as an adult. So where do we jump? Because we get introduced to her again as a girl at the end of the movie. So how do we jump? What's the timeline of this movie? These are questions I need answers to. And I think that's a bad idea, putting all 3 stories in one movie and not having a cohesive timeline for it. Now, I would say I do like the idea of this being a big city, so there's people who are, or I guess it's showing how the world building of this movie is. I do like that, because you see characters who are in a certain scene and then there's another story in a different scene, and you're seeing them like overlap each other. I do like that idea. I do like seeing characters get introduced at a certain part and then they come back into somebody else's story that they wasn't, that was in the first part as just, appearance, and then they actually have a vital part in the 3rd story or the 2nd story. I do like that, to show you how big that this world is not as big, or it's they're in the cities together. I do like that, and that was kind of cool seeing that. But to me, it just seemed like it was kind of all over the place at certain points. It was kind of all over the place, and I didn't really like that. I would have preferred the movie to be about the cop and the girl, or preferred about the, street thug and him, cleaning his name off, or him clearing his name. I would prefer about the movie being those two versus self-proclaimed gentleman and the streets of sex workers. I would prefer that story. Like, at that point, I didn't really care. I didn't really care. It was like, oh, we just had this cool story with the street thug and him clearing his name for the girl that he found out was a sex worker, but he really loved her. Like, she gave him the time of night, and he was trying to clear his name, and went through the whole list of bad guys to figure out who actually did it. That storyline was cool. Or the beginning storyline with the cop, and he saves a girl from getting sexually abused by this sick, perverted man, and like gets framed for the assault on that guy. He's a cop. I would have preferred her to become a cop or some kind of vigilante, and clearing his name. That would have been a cool storyline. But instead, we get that part. He gets killed for the most part, we think, and then at the end of the movie, he appears back at the end of the movie, and you're like, oh, we're picking this storyline back up. What the deuce? How did we get here? Why? We just had that storyline. Then we had the street thug, and then we had the self-proclaimed gentleman. I don't need a fourth piece of this movie. And then when I paused it to see how much longer the movie I had 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Why? And granted, the ending was kind of cool, where I got invested again in the ending, but it was just like, something's off here. That shouldn't have happened there. And I get it. It was the way the author intended his story to go. I give him props for that. Once again, good job getting your movie made. Props, but I think this would have been served better if it was a TV series versus a movie. That way you can actually give each account of the stories within the city, and it will all make probably better sense, because you get introduced to, for example, I'll throw her name out there, Nancy. You get introduced to Nancy in the Street Thug storyline. He said he's been watching her for years, but then within his storyline, he does die. And then you get introduced to Nancy again at the end of the movie, when you find out that Nancy is the girl that good old Bruce Willis saves in the beginning of the movie. When you find out that Nancy is the girl at the bar that the street thug was admiring, the street thug is right there alive. And you're like, wait a minute. So this storyline is not the same storyline. It's the timeline's out of whack. And I don't like that. It bothers me. And speaking of directors, because it's three. It's Frank Miller, Quentin Tarantino, and Robert Rodriguez. Those are the three directors. Quentin Tarantino came in as a special guest director, which you can see some of his lighting and some of his designs and work on this movie, especially some of the grotesque shots and violent scenes. You can see like, oh, that's Quentin Tarantino's work there. But yeah, for the most part, Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez are the ones who really worked on this movie. Let's go ahead and get into the cast. Mickey Rourke, who is Marv. Well, let me do it like how the movie introduced him. So Bruce Willis as Harnigan. He's like your clean-cut street cop who he's about to retire, but he does everything for justice. He was cool. Didn't mind him. This movie has a lot of narration in it too. I didn't mind his narration. Mickey Rourke, who plays Marv. Now, I did not know this was Mickey Rourke. I couldn't tell it was Mickey Rourke. I kept trying to see it, like I didn't see his face. The same guy that played in Iron Man 2, the same guy that was in The Wrestler, the same guy that was in The Expendables. I couldn't tell that was Mickey Rourke, and it was him. But I thought he did good in this movie. I thought Mickey Rourke did a great job in this movie, and I believed his character 110%. And then we got Rosario Dawson, who plays Gail. I thought Rosario Dawson was cool. Thought she was badass. Thought she was tough. Thought she was a strong character. Didn't mind her. And then Cleve Owen, I think I pronounced his name, C-L-I-V-E, Cleve Owen, who played Dwight. He was cool for the most part. Like, okay, cool. Jessica Alba, who played Nancy, thought she was fine. Didn't think anything wrong with her. Benicio del Toro, Jackie Boy, also kind of comical, but I thought he did a good job. Michael Clark Duncan, phenomenal in everything he do. R.I.P. Wish he was still around. It'd be kind of cool to see him in a Marvel movie, like a MCU movie. But I thought Michael Clark Duncan did a good job there. Who else I want to talk about? Carla Gugino, who plays Lucille. Thought she did a great job. Like the cast, that was fine, especially for this kind of movie. I thought they did fine. It's a comic book movie, so and before the MCU, so it wasn't really taking this. I said this was taken more seriously, but the pacing of this movie just, I don't think it was a good job, and that bothered me a lot. And I think the fact that they did multiple stories in one movie versus just doing one solid movie would have been better. Yes, it's called Sin City, so you can do whatever you want. I get it, but it would have been better suited for one actual storyline, and that would have been a better movie to me. As far as color and music, the coloring of the movie was made like a graphic novel. It's black and white, which is cool. You don't see most movies like that in, modern day. I thought it was neat. In the styling of the movie, like there's certain styles of the movie where it's moved like a comic book panel, where you see certain panel changes, or like a character sitting there and it looks like a comic book in the background, but it's like a live action person sitting there. If you ever played the video game Marvel Nemesis on GameCube, PlayStation 2, this movie, the storyline panels is framed like that movie. In that game is framed like this movie. That's how it looks. Like, it looks like one of those movies where it's like a video game movie where it has a real person and the rest of it is all drawing and sketched around them. That's what this movie looks like at certain points. Very 2005-ish. It's fine. It's fine. Music, I don't remember any of the soundtrack of this movie, so there tells you that. And is this a Friday night movie? Nah, not really. Don't waste your time. And grading time, I'm going to grade the movie Sin City from 2005 a C-. It's a C- for me. I think the timeline of the movie is kind of off. I don't think it should have been multiple movies at once. It definitely should have been one movie or one storyline versus multiple storylines. It would have flowed better that way. On top of that, I think some of the other stuff that with the styling of the movie, not the black and white, I didn't mind that, but the styling of the movie were made it more like a comic book panel, and you can see like certain scenes. Like there's one scene in particular I'm thinking of where Nancy's sitting in a chair and a dude opened up a door, and you see like the guy in the door like sketched and drawn in while Nancy's a human being sitting there. Those kind of things is like, it pretty much like a PlayStation 2 cut story. Marvel Nemesis is a good example of the cut stories for this movie. I think you've seen Marvel Nemesis video game and seen the cut stories for that video game and then watch this movie, you'd be like, ah, very 2005, mid-aughts per se. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. If you guys, the things I did love, the acting, I didn't mind that. I didn't even realize Mickey Rourke, so good job on that. And I felt like there's parts of the movie where they was going places, but they just didn't nail it like they should have. And that is my opinion of this movie. If you guys seen the movie Sin City from 2005, what do you think? Because mine is a C-. It's a C- grade. What did you think? Please put in the comment section below. Other than that, see you guys in the next episode of Movie Breakdowns. And I will say one thing before I say you guys, see you next time. I do give them props for trying something different. I do give them props for trying something different. You gotta give them a shout out for that, because especially in modern day, mid-aughts, 2005, 2006, where you didn't see a black and white movie like that with certain pops and colors, I do give them props for that. That is something they should have, bravo for trying. First attempt, but it hasn't been done since, and that probably says something. So C- for me. Other than that, see you guys in the next episode of Movie Breakdowns, and keep being awesome. Thank you guys for watching this episode. I really appreciate it. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Also, you want to see what else I'm doing in my normal life and other things that's going on, please follow me on Instagram at Ali_Zakka. I'll put it right here around my face. Yep, right there. Also, if you want more episodes of Movie Breakdowns or Grind Towards Success or whatever it is I'm doing on YouTube, you know what? Follow my page right here, like I said before, the little comment thing right there, And then you can watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns right here, and watch the last episode of Grind Towards Success right there. Other than that, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all. See y'all next time. Keep being awesome.